What if the world's most powerful military turned its eyes south and invaded Mexico? How would such a conflict unfold? Could the US really conquer its southern neighbour? And what would be the consequences for both nations and the world? Today, we explore a scenario that could reshape North America, a full-scale invasion of Mexico by the United States. What would it mean for the two countries, and how would it affect the world? The United States and Mexico share a complex history, defined by war, trade, and migration. But why would the US consider invading its southern neighbour in this scenario? In this hypothetical situation, the reasons could vary, from economic interests and political instability in Mexico to the escalation of issues like illegal immigration and drug trafficking. With pressure mounting at home, the US government could see military action as the only solution to secure its interests. The US might justify the invasion as a way to stabilize Mexico and secure key resources. In the event of a worsening border crisis, or if Mexico descended into political chaos, the US could intervene militarily to prevent a regional collapse that could spill into its own borders. But what would drive the United States to take such a drastic step? And could it really succeed in invading and controlling its southern neighbour? If the US were to invade Mexico, the strategy would be based on overwhelming military force and speed. With the world's most powerful military, the US would focus on securing northern Mexico first, targeting major cities like Tijuana, Monterrey, and Ciudad Juarez. The US military, with superior air power, naval dominance, and advanced technology, would aim to neutralize Mexico's command structure, disrupting supply lines and cutting off key population centers. The ultimate goal: push toward Mexico City, topple the government, and install a new regime. The early stages of the invasion would likely see quick victories in northern Mexico. But as the conflict progressed, the challenges of occupying such a vast and diverse country would become apparent. Mexico's geography, with its dense cities, rugged terrain, and vast countryside, would make controlling the entire nation far more complex than initial military success might suggest. Could the US military, even with its superior firepower, truly manage a full-scale invasion and occupation of a country as large and complex as Mexico? What strategies would they use to maintain control? If the US successfully captured key Mexican cities and toppled the government, the immediate consequences would be profound. Mexico, home to over 120 million people, would face chaos as millions of civilians flee conflict zones, while US forces establish control over major urban areas. Economically, the invasion would have ripple effects across the globe. Mexico is one of the US's largest trading partners, and the sudden collapse of its government and infrastructure would disrupt vital industries, from agriculture to manufacturing, leading to shortages and rising prices worldwide. While the US might seize control of Mexico's natural resources, including oil and agriculture, the humanitarian and political fallout would be immense. Millions of Mexicans would be displaced, causing a refugee crisis that would spread across the region. While the US might win the initial invasion, occupying and controlling Mexico would be a far more difficult task. With a population fiercely opposed to foreign occupation, Mexico would likely see a surge of guerrilla warfare and civil resistance, not only from military forces, but also from powerful drug cartels. Cartels, which already operate as quasi-military forces in some regions of Mexico, would be a major challenge for US forces. These powerful criminal organizations, along with local militias, would wage an intense guerrilla war, making the occupation dangerous and costly for the United States. The sheer size of Mexico, combined with its complex political and social landscape, would make maintaining long-term control nearly impossible. The US would face constant civil unrest, economic strain, and international pressure to withdraw. Would the US be able to maintain its grip on Mexico, or would the cost of occupation prove too high? What role would international forces play in this conflict? The global repercussions of a US invasion and occupation of Mexico would be enormous. Latin America would be thrown into turmoil, with countries like Brazil, Argentina, and Venezuela condemning the US and potentially forming new alliances to counter its influence in the region. Economically, the disruption of trade routes, combined with the collapse of Mexico's industries, would lead to a global recession. The US economy, while benefiting from controlling Mexico's resources, would face significant strain from the cost of occupation and the need to rebuild Mexico's infrastructure. Meanwhile, the US's global reputation would suffer. Its actions in Mexico would likely lead to increased tensions with global powers like China and Russia, who could use the conflict to expand their influence in other regions or undermine US dominance. Could the US really hold on to Mexico in the face of growing resistance and international pressure? What do you think would happen next? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. This hypothetical scenario paints a picture of how fragile peace can be between neighbours. A US victory over Mexico would reshape not only North America, but also the global order, bringing both opportunities and significant challenges. But now, it's your turn to imagine. Could the US really invade and defeat Mexico? How would the world respond? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love exploring alternate realities and mind-bending scenarios, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video.